everyone, it's Judy. Welcome back to this week's Ecosystem Podcast. Anybody else going to DesignCon at the end of the month in Santa Clara? I'm going. In fact, I'll be podcasting from the show floor. So if you're going, I hope you will come over and say hello. Today, we're joined by guest Suzanne Deffree, who is the event director of Informa, who puts on DesignCon. So I wanted to give you a sneak peek into all the good sessions, people, speakers that they will be featuring at DesignCon. So I hope you will enjoy this conversation, and I hope you'll come see me at DesignCon, and I hope you'll go over and register at designcon.com using the promo code Judy for 20% off. Now let's jump into our conversation with Suzanne Deffree of Informa. Hi, Suzanne. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to learn about everything you're working on right now at DesignCon. You must be crazy busy, lady.
We are. We're very busy. We're about a few weeks out from the show, but I'm so glad to be here today, and thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Well, and thank you, I have to say, for our audience sake, and say thank you to you publicly, is that DesignCon has allowed me to come in and podcast from DesignCon show floor. And so Suzanne and I have been talking behind the scenes about that. And then we started talking about all that she has planned for DesignCon, the speakers, and it's going to be a phenomenal show. And it looks like it's going to be a really good turnout. So I knew I'd want to share her with you today. So Suzanne, why don't we start out with you giving a brief overview of your background and experience in the industry, and then we'll start digging into everything you've got planned for DesignCon.
Sure, sounds great. So I'm Suzanne Deffree. I'm the group event director for DesignCon. I've worked with engineers for more than 20 years now in various different areas. And I started out on the media side. I wasn't always in the events world. I wrote for brands like EDN, Electronic News, EE Times, Design News, and through media and now into events. I've been very lucky to be part of the DesignCon community for, again, more than 2 decades.
Well, it's everybody's favorite show, I swear. If you're doing anything, your tagline is where the chip meets the board, right? And that's where everything gets messy, right? And so you and I share many dear friends, and I thank you so much for allowing me to come in and interview some of our mutual friends and really the thought leaders in the space of signal integrity, power integrity, EMI, EMC, where everything gets pretty hard. So let's just dig into everything, because I know there's a lot at DesignCon this year. So why don't you give us an overview? You usually have, I think it is 3 keynotes. How many keynotes do you have?
We have 3 keynotes, one each day on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Our first keynote is about post-quantum cryptography, and that's going to be delivered by the head of hardware cybersecurity research from the Electrical and Computer Engineering Department at North Carolina University. And it's outstanding, really interesting stuff happening there. And really from the security side too, it's mind-blowing what he's going to be talking about. And then on Wednesday, we have Devin Billings coming. He's the Associate Director of Electrical Research and Development at Boston Dynamics, right? And he'll be discussing how we're enabling autonomous robots through electrical engineering. And we often think about these robotics as being purely mechanical, but they're certainly not. Of course, the DesignCon crowd would know this, but there's a lot of electronics that go into these things to make them do what they can do. And it really is going to be game-changing, in my opinion. And then on Thursday, we close our keynotes with a talk by another VP of R&D from Cadence, and he'll be discussing the evolution of semiconductors as engineers design more and more for intelligent machines. What has to happen within the semiconductor world, and how do we have to evolve to make sure that we are doing our best for these intelligent machines? Really outstanding
phenomenal
stuff. Yeah.
Really outstanding stuff. And of course, you and I were geeking out a little before I hit the record button, and we both are kind of Boston Dynamics groupies, and that's always a fun topic. But it sounds like so much. I mean, it's computing power, right?
It is.
It's massive data and speed, and this is really, really hard stuff. So it sounds like you picked 3 really good ones that are moving into quantum AI, heavy power computing, So All right. So besides the keynotes, just give us sort of a high level picture of all of the key events. I think you said you're having a welcome reception.
We
Can you tell
are,
us about that?
yes, and I am so excited for the welcome reception. That will be on Tuesday night. I believe we start at 6 p.m. over at the Hyatt, the hotel connected to the convention center, and it's presented by Samtec. And this year's reception is a celebration of all of engineers' contributions to space exploration, right? Because it's been such a huge
Wow.
year in everything space, right? And we have some really fun things planned for the party. I don't want to give too much away there, but I will say that Samtec is bringing some equipment from the very early days of space exploration, and it's going to be on site, and you're going to be able to check it out and ask questions and take some photos with it. It's really fun, and the welcome reception, as you, Judy, know, and anyone who's been to DesignCon knows, it's a key event. You have to be at the welcome reception. Like, you have to come and you have to network. There will be a few hundred people there. It's the place to be seen, really, for the year, right?
It is. And, we, at the risk of sounding really old school, but I think it's really important for young engineers and
Mm-hmm.
people that haven't been involved in, say, 2 decades with DesignCon, is it's all about relationships. And we really lost that,
Yeah.
element during COVID. And we had kind of a soft comeback, but I thought it was pretty darn good last year. I came
Yeah. It was
and I was
great.
pretty impressed with the turnout, actually. And but anyways, it's all about the people in the end and the value of us gathering together at things like the welcome reception. You just don't know what's going to happen till you get there
Right.
and you start meeting people and someone introduces you to something, and then
Yeah.
those are the conversations that really
Exactly.
can end up launching your career in a whole different direction. So
And
totally agree with you.
you mentioned young engineers, right? You know that that's an area that's very important to me, making sure that there's that next generation talent, as it is to many of our DesignCon speakers and TPC members and attendees. Um, we've always tried to nurture that audience, but this year, one of our highlights is that we're kicking off what we're calling the Emerging Engineer Breakfast. And it's really
Hmm.
targeted for people with less than 10 years of professional experience. And it gives them the opportunity to come together on Thursday morning and network with others in their group of experience, maybe meet some of their mentors, some other people that will help them out through the industry, and chat with some companies and organizations that are really offering opportunities to help them expand their professional reach. We've also lined up a series of content for this experience level specifically, and we're going to have all that information up on our website. But that's definitely another networking experience at DesignCon 2023 that you should try to get down to.
It's funny you should mention emerging engineers. So last year at DesignCon, I was in the lobby and I was sitting with some friends, and adjacent to me was Steve Sandler, who's,
Mm-hmm.
of course, a big DesignCon guy
Yeah.
in power integrity. And a young engineer walked up to Steve and said, "Hey, I saw a podcast with Judy Warner, and I just want to introduce you or introduce myself to you." Well, fast forward a year later, because of that networking opportunity at DesignCon, that engineer connected with Steve Sandler, went to work for a related
Oh,
family, and
wow.
now is Scott Witcher. He's
Oh, I know
presenting a
Scott.
paper
Yeah.
this year.
Mm-hmm.
So Steve turned around and said, "Well, there's Judy right there." And I came over and he was like, "Oh my gosh, I just watched this podcast like a couple weeks ago and here you guys are." And so, anyways, because of that networking
Yeah.
organically and the podcast, he got sort of mentored by Steve Sandler.
Yeah.
Not a bad thing that happened at DesignCon. And then he reached out to me saying, "Oh my gosh, DesignCon and you connecting me to people like Steve, my career's taken
Yeah.
off in the last year." So, anyways, I just want to seeing the value, right, that you guys really present there. And I love the idea of the merging engineers and giving that an actual formal place and
Yeah.
not just a happenstance meeting in the lobby, of the Hyatt. So love that.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited about it.
What else? So let's talk about, it's pretty overwhelming if you go to the DesignCon website, but in a good way, how many tracks and sessions they are. So why don't you give us a high level of all of that if you can?
So, um, it's a multidisciplinary approach to education, right? So there's the Chip at Theater, which is open to everyone, and that's on the floor and sponsored by DesignCon's host sponsor, Informa. Anyone, any past type can go to that theater and get great education there. We also have our 14-track conference, which is cultivated by our 99-person TPC, or Technical Program Committee. And these are the people like Steve Sandler, Heidi Barnes, Ben Dannon, the real rock stars of the industry. They are incredibly generous with their time on this. They spend the full year reviewing content and making sure that what we're presenting in those 14 tracks is on point, it's up to date, it's what people need to do their jobs and to make a better tomorrow through engineering, right? We also have our Drive World conference, which is focused specifically on automotive, electronics, and intelligence. And that's something we added to DesignCon, I think 2 years ago now. And it's becoming very popular very quickly. Of course, with automotive being such a high field right now. And then this year, we're actually welcoming IEEE Spectrum that will do one day of education specifically focused on emerging chips and markets. And it's just really incredible. And that content is open to every past type. So there's a lot going on. And then, of course, there are all our sponsored sessions throughout the Wednesday and Thursday. Those are hosted on. So lots of options. Definitely go to the website and look and see what type of pass you have that you're registered for, and then see what content you want to attend and make a schedule. We do offer an online ability to do that so that you don't miss anything, you don't forget anything.
Yeah, like I said, the thing I love about it is that you've done a really clean filtering system for those tracks, because if you just looked at the whole thing,
Right.
it's a lot.
Yeah. Well, I have to give cheers
and
to Naomi Price, our content director, who handles that every year, and she is so graceful about it.
I know.
Yeah.
I'd lose my mind. So both of you, actually. So kudos for the whole team there. And I can't believe that you have 99 TPC committee members.
Yeah. Then we also have an emerging engineer committee, and we're bringing back our exhibitor advisory committee as well. So there are a lot of people that go into DesignCon besides, those of us that work on the show all year round. Yeah.
Well, I think, Suzanne, you can sort of feel, or I can feel, that it's a collaboration, and the reason, not that it's about me, but I love the idea of the ecosystem, right? When we all bring those parts together is what makes it really good. And what I appreciate about Informa and DesignCon is getting all those inputs.
Yeah.
Right? It's not you stand back and dictate, these are the sessions. It's such a collaborative ecosystem of a variety of people and a variety of roles and technologies. And so it feels extraordinarily relevant and on point.
Yeah.
So kudos to you and your team. So along those lines, I'm sure after these shows go on every year, you probably solicit feedback.
Yes.
And generally, sort of on the back of what I just said, what's the general feedback that you get? And the reason why I'm asking you this, Suzanne, is because for our audience, I want them to think about maybe something they haven't considered of what the value of DesignCon may be for their career or their engineering discipline.
Yeah, I mean, really what I've heard over those 20 years is that DesignCon creates this community of people, this ecosystem, if you will, right? Where you can come together today to start planning and innovating for tomorrow, right? You're going to get the ideas and the information you need to do your job, really, because that's at the base of why people are coming. They want to do their jobs better. They want to build their careers, right? But you're also going to be looking ahead 5, 10, 20 years in some cases, right? You're going to talk to all the exhibitors. We have about 140 exhibitors this year. They're going to help you plan for your next design. They're going to help you make those innovations of tomorrow. You're going to get to meet Steve Sandler. You're going to meet somebody that you've never heard of who is 5 years your junior, but, within 10 minutes of talking to them, that they're going to be, the next CEO one day. You're going to get to connect with people. And there aren't really that many spaces left in the world, unfortunately, where you can do this, where you can come together and brainstorm and connect with people and hear about the products that are out there, at least not reliable places to do that. So
reliable is the key, right?
right.
It's the fortunate, unfortunate part of the internet is being able to discern from all these sources. There's so much noise.
Mm-hmm.
And so DesignCon does do a good job of gathering the thought leaders, the technology leaders that you, and such a robust technical staff of experts that know how to do all the math behind
Yes.
it. It's not just theories or regurgitated. These are people who are physicists and have really incredible, but at the same time are very human and very generous. So I love that. And as you know, Suzanne, like for engineers, they always have to be ahead, or most, maybe not all, but most engineers need to be slightly ahead of the technology curve or they're behind.
100%.
So I think what you're saying is you're getting consistent feedback that says you've done that for them, which is amazing.
100%. And, the other bit of feedback that we get is that there's so much at DesignCon. They want to be in two places at once.
Always. So let's talk about that. So after the show's over, how do you, of course, if you buy a conference ticket, I assume you get materials and slide decks. And how does that get disseminated after the show?
So a lot of it actually goes out before the show. So you can review technical papers and whatnot before you get to your conference session. We use a digital platform. It's called Map Your Show. There's information available on our website about how to do this. But once you get your conference pass, you're able to log into Map Your Show and create your planner, so your schedule of what you'd like to attend, including networking functions, not just our education. You can pre-connect with any of the suppliers on the expo floor. You can start to get product information through there. You can mark off who you definitely want to make sure that you stop by. You can download, if your conference pass allows this, you can download the technical papers from the conference, any slide decks, any other materials that the speakers are making available. And then after the event, we will record select sessions. And again, this is by your pass type. Depending on that pass type, you're able to go in and review those sessions. And we keep them up until about March. So folks can go back.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. I don't think I knew that you did any recording.
We just started it last year.
Okay.
Yeah, and this year we're doing 2 rooms on Wednesday and Thursday. Some of our highest rated sessions by our technical program committee again. And we think it's great. We think it's a great thing to allow you to kind of be in those 2 places at once, right? Or maybe you're at DesignCon and you're chatting with somebody and they just told you about this fantastic session that they saw earlier in the day, and now you can catch it online.
And do you guys record the keynotes as well or not?
We sometimes do. We did last year. I'm hoping we can this year as well.
Okay. I don't know why I thought I saw something from last year, but wasn't sure. Okay, well, that's good to know for our audience, that they know that if for some reason they can't go. I mean, is there a way that you could buy? So you'd get the proceedings. Is there a way to, if there's absolutely no way you can go, is there a way besides Map Your Show? Is there a way to access any of that, Suzanne?
Well, if you've purchased a conference pass, you do have rights to the proceedings, so you would be able to download that, but we do only record select sessions.
Got it.
So you wouldn't be able to review the whole show online. And really, you want to come down to a DesignCon.
Absolutely.
Like we're talking about
100%. I 100% resonate with that and can attest to that as one who's been to DesignCon many, many times. It is not nearly the same. The magic is in the people and being there in person. So I really want to encourage you to clear your schedule and be there. Share with our audience, Suzanne, what the URL is and where they can both register and find more information.
So you can head on over to designcon.com and you'll find all the information about the conference, our exhibitors, the pass types, And the link to register will be on the top right. It's a big, bright red button. You can't miss it. And when you do go to register, because we love the ecosystem so much, we've created a promo code for any of your listeners to use. They just type in Judy, Judy, all caps, and they'll get 20% off a conference pass or a free expo pass.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Suzanne, and we're going to be promoting that heavily here. And thank you so much for your partnership on that. Okay, now a personal question. It's so rare that I get to have a fellow woman in technology on this. You'd mentioned earlier on that you were involved mostly in media, and but you've been around engineers like me, and I always say, at least for most of the women I know, some are EEs like the Heidi Barnes of the world, but a lot of us are like, we just followed the breadcrumbs that interested us. So what were your breadcrumbs?
Yeah.
How did you get from there? Like when you're, fresh out of college, what was your vision for your life and how'd you end up here?
So I wanted to be a lobbyist, actually. I studied PR, public relations, in college with the intent of being a lobbyist. And I was told to be a lobbyist, I had to have a little bit of a journalism background covering politics. So I did that for a few years. And I wanted to be a lobbyist because I wanted to change the world. And I quickly learned that perhaps politics is not the way to better the world.
Bullet dodged.
Yeah. And, here we are in the mid 1990s, and what area is incredibly hot for everything, right? Right before the .com bubble, right? Everything was going into tech. So as a journalist, I kind of wandered into tech and I stayed. I mean, it's been an incredible adventure. And, I don't credit myself in any way as changing the world, but I've been able to do things to let these people come together and change the world, right? And if you don't think that technology has changed the world, I don't know where you've been living for the last 20 years, because it really has been the driving force, in my opinion, of all the good changes in the world.
All you got to do, like you talked about space,
right?
We now fly we reuse rockets, for Pete's sake. We are now sending people back into space. It is. I know. I share your curious mind, and once you wander into it, you can't get out.
Yeah. And you know what? I don't want to get out. I'm sure when I first started, I was like, oh, I don't know that I want to be here. But now I'm just so grateful to have been part of this community for my career, and I can't wait to see what the next 20 years brings. How incredible is DesignCon going to be in 2043,
Right. Well, just the keynotes you mentioned, is there anything as you've been planning for DesignCon, certain technologies that particularly have caught your attention or your interest?
Oh gosh.
I know that's just an unfair question. I know.
I'm really intrigued recently with everything autonomous, right? Particularly on the automotive side, but there's so much more to autonomous than just automotive. But, just thinking back over the years, I got to see the birth of Wi-Fi, and I got to be part of that, I got to see 5G. It's just been incredible. The whole thing has been incredible.
I know. And I'm sure you're like me. It's like I feel like we're living in science fiction come true.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you or I ever thought we'd be here already.
No.
I think we thought, it'll come sometime in the future. But, man, that we're here. Yeah. Well, I love that. I love that story. And I figured you had one. and I'm with you. I'm not an EE. I don't particularly love math, but I do love, you and I share that we like being a critical part of giving those people their voices and a platform. And I really appreciate that about you personally and about DesignCon as a show. So thanks so much for giving us a quick overview. I know you're crazy busy right now, but
well, thank you, Judy, for having us. And thank you for doing what you're doing too. I think podcasts like this, they're more options for reliable information. So thank you for doing this and having me on today. That's really great.
Thank you. Well, it's been a pleasure to have you, and I can't wait till DesignCon. I'm busy planning. So for our audience, I will be doing, knock on wood, I think 5 straight days of podcasting with speakers and key technologies and thought leaders the week before DesignCon, and I'm calling it the DesignCon tailgate party. And so we're going to be having the Bogatons and, all the hot shots from DesignCon. So you'll want to check into that and make sure you go use that promo code for 20% off and come see me.
Yes.
I will be on the show floor and I would love to meet you. And if you see Suzanne running around, give her a high five as she's running off with some piece of equipment on her head and running in circles, because she really does make this show go. So I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. And I look forward to seeing you very soon. It's going to be a great show.
Very soon.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much to our audience for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you will join us at the show. I've left links below for you in the show notes. And thanks so much for joining us today. And I hope to see you at DesignCon. Until then, remember to always stay connected to the ecosystem.